Hi guys, it's Grant from Grant Ford Fitness here, and this morning what we're going to talk about is one of the most common postural imbalances that you come across nowadays. We're going to look at why it happens and a couple of exercises you can do to combat it, try and fix the problem. So what we're going to look at today is the anterior pelvic tilt. And this basically is when, if you're stood in a good neutral posture, you're up nice and tall, your pelvis is supposed to sit neutrally, flat here. When you have an anterior pelvic tilt, what happens is the pelvis shifts this way. So basically, you're tilting it towards the front. Okay? So what happens, again, don't know if you can see with my spine, but if I'm in a nice neutral posture, my spine has a little curve to it, but is fairly flat. Okay? If I get an anterior pelvic tilt, what happens is I shift this way, my pelvis flips out here, my butt is forced backwards, and I get this excessive curve here to my spine. Okay? Now what causes this is general everyday life. Okay? We spend an awful lot of time, whether it's at work, driving, watching the TV, whatever you're doing, in this position where you're sat. Okay? Now your body will adapt to whatever stimulus you give it. If you exercise, you lift lots of weights, you get bigger, you're stronger. If you do endurance running, your body learns to adapt to do long runs. Okay, whatever you do to your body, it will adapt to it. Okay, so if you spend a lot of time sitting here, your body thinks this is a natural position. Okay, and what tends to happen is it will try and fix itself so this position is natural. At your hips, you have the ability to bend or flex and extend. Okay, and the muscles here at the front of your hips control the flexion or the bending. Your butt, your glutes, they control the extension. So if you spend a lot of time sat down in this position, and what happens is these hip flexors of yours, they shorten over time because they're always on. Your hips are always flexed. Again, they lock up, they fix. What also happens is the glutes, the muscles at the back, they get stretched. They're never on. Okay, so you have an imbalance in the length-tension relationship. Yeah, you have too tight hip flexors, weak glutes, and as a result, your pelvis does this. Okay. Now, what also happens when you do this is, again, if you see when I'm stood side onto you, again, I'm neutral. When I do this, my abdominals, they stretch and elongate, and the muscles in the small of my back, they contract. Yeah, so this tilt in your pelvis causes lots and lots of problems. What we're going to look at, we're not going to go into too much detail about it, but we're going to look at some things which are going to effectively stretch your hip flexors and make your glutes tighter and shorter. Okay. First thing we're going to look at is some lengthening exercises for your hip flexors. So what I'm going to get you to do is, first of all, go down on your knees. Yeah, with one foot behind, place one foot out, so it's again at a 90-degree angle. With the foot that's behind, I want to make sure that your toe is pointed inwards. Yeah, it's internally rotated. If you look at it from behind, I'm not like this where my toe is neutral, or like this, my toe is pointed in towards my butt. Okay? From here, in this position, all I'm going to get you to do is squeeze your butt. And you will feel on your hip flexor, you will feel from here as you squeeze your butt, your hips are forced to extend or open up, and you'll feel a stretch through here. This position. You can add to this by placing your palms out, palm up, bend your arms down to here. And you're just going to hold it, squeezing that bum, holding it here, hold it for 20 or 30 seconds. Okay? Again, your hip flexors come through here, connect to your spine. What this does, forces your spine into extension. Again, make sure you get a nice long stretch through the hip flexors. It will also help to identify the area up here, just under your pelvis, under your hip bone, where your hip flexors are tight. Yeah, you'll feel it straight away, okay? You can do this on both sides. Again, squeeze your bum, don't arch your back, keep your back nice and neutral. Squeeze your bum, palms out, and you'll feel the areas that are tight. Okay? So again, hold that for 20-30 seconds each side. Once they're lengthened, or once you've given them a bit of a stretch, the next thing you're going to look at is doing some myofascial release, okay, which is like a deep tissue massage. Effectively, where your muscles have shortened, the muscles have knitted together, and there'll be lots of adhesions. What we're going to do is poke something into those adhesions to stretch the muscle fibres out, or the fascial tissue, stretch it out. Okay? So, the area you just felt where it was getting the stretch, which is just under your your hip bone. Again, very short area. What you're going to do is you're going to locate it with a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball or a trigger point ball if you've got one. Again, I recommend starting with a tennis ball because to start off with this is going to hurt. But again, the more you do it, the less painful it will be and the harder ball you can use. Okay, so again, you're going to identify that area. Then all you're going to do is lie down on the floor with the ball on that area and get as flat as you can. You might need to roll around, just rotate your body, find the area that hurts, and you're just going to sit there. Okay? You sit there for 20 to 30 seconds. Try and relax, breathe deeply, and again, after 20 or 30 seconds, it might take longer, you should feel the pain ease off a little bit. Okay, that's the tissue just lengthening. Okay, that's what you're looking for. Okay, if you're finding you want to add a little bit of something to it, lift the leg of the hip flexor you're releasing, just lift the toes off the floor. Again, adds a little bit of pressure. If you're finding it's too painful, put the toes on the floor. Okay? Again, do that both sides. So what that's going to do is that's going to lengthen your hip flexors. Okay? Again, if you do this morning and evening, a couple of times a week, again, you'll notice improvements over the next 5, 6, 7 weeks. Keep doing it and you'll find an awful lot less restricted movement through your hip joint. Okay, but that's looking at the front. Okay, that's looking at your flexors. The muscles that are tight, we'll lengthen them. What we've also got to do, we've got to strengthen your glutes. So a real simple exercise we can do to start off with here is a glute bridge. Yeah, so what you're going to do, lie on the floor, sit on the floor with your feet not right up under your butt, but fairly near, and lie down here in this position. Okay, now when you're in this position, you will have an arch here. You'll be able to put your hand under your your back where you have the curve in your lumbar spine. What I want you to do is flatten that down. Yeah, you flatten that down, get your knees close together, and then all you're going to do, bridge up here, keeping this neutral. Yeah, from there you're just going to hold it for 20 or 30 seconds, and then you're going to come down. Okay, what you don't want to do is just bridge up as high as you can. Yeah, so if you do this again, you're just exaggerating that curve, and it's going to make the problem worse. Yeah, you've got to make sure when you're doing it, sitting neutral, flatten your spine, nice tight core, bridge up. Okay, when you can do that quite comfortably, you're doing 10 to 15 reps of those, do it with a single leg. Lift the leg off the floor, flatten your spine, boom. Same on the other side again. One leg, boom. Make sure you haven't got the curve, you've got a nice flat spine. Don't come up to here. Okay, so that's just a couple of really simple exercises that will help to address the issue of an anterior pelvic tilt. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing another couple of videos dealing with other postural issues. If you like the videos, subscribe to the channel, share them on YouTube, tell your friends about it, and I'll put out a couple of videos a week. Thanks very much, guys.